And happy Advent to you as we prepare for Christmas Day. A week from today, we ask you to join in, and we'll start with a prayer. Welcome to the Stop Abortion Coalition press conference to help stop Planned Parenthood here at 2140 Babcock. Thank you very much. The ambulance just came by with the siren and honking. We appreciate that kind of support. If you happen to be driving down Babcock and see us here, please honk for life. So we begin this press conference with a prayer. In the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. We stand before you, Holy Spirit, conscious of our sinfulness, but aware that we gather in your name. Come to us, remain with us, and enlighten our hearts. Give us light and strength to know your will, to make it our own, and to live it in our lives. Guide us by your wisdom. Support us by your power, for you are God, sharing the glory of Father and Son. You desire justice for all. Enable us to uphold the rights of others. Do not allow us to be misled by ignorance or corrupted by fear or favor. Unite us to yourself in the bond of love and keep us faithful to all that is true. As we gather in your name, may we temper justice with love so that all of our decisions may be pleasing to you and earn the reward promised to good and faithful servants. We ask this of you who live and reign with the Father and the Son, one God, forever and ever. Amen. In the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, amen. Well, welcome again. And on behalf of the Stop Abortion Coalition, Stop Planned Parenthood Coalition, and many other members, welcome to the press conference today. We gathered today. We have some special guests you don't normally get to see on the sidewalk. Not only a former employee of Planned Parenthood, Miss Abby Johnson. Thank you very much for being here, Abby. But also, we get to see some white coats out here today, what's formerly known as white coats. They are taking time out of their busy day and coming to join us with the Catholic Physicians Guild of San Antonio. So thank you very much, gentlemen, for being here. We have the doctors that are here are Dr. Mitch Finney, Matt Arismendez, PA, and Mark Pekka, MD, and then actually Clark Cardes as well, MD. So we thank you very much, Catholic Physicians Guild of San Antonio, for being here and joining us. Without further ado, I'd like to welcome the founder of And Then There Were None, an apostolate set up that would bring education and a resource, a tool, to abortion workers. I apologize. We're gonna let Abby finish things up. We're gonna let the doctors go first. They get back to their schedule then. So the Catholic Physicians Guild of San Antonio would like to welcome Dr. Mitch Finney. Dr. Mitch Finney is a family medicine doctor in San Antonio, Texas. He is affiliated with hospitals in the area, including Houston Methodist Hospital and Methodist Hospital here in San Antonio. He received his medical degree from Baylor College of Medicine and has been in practice for 23 years. Dr. Mitch Finney accepts several types of health insurance listed below and is one of 94 doctors in the Houston Methodist Hospital and one of 70 at Methodist Hospital who specialize in family medicine. Thank you very much for being here, Dr. Mitch.
Thank you very much. Thank you. As was mentioned, my name is Mitch Finney. I am here for several reasons. One is that I am the president of the Catholic Physicians Guild here in San Antonio. I work with Catholic Charities here in the Archdiocese of San Antonio. I used to teach family practice residents down in Santa Rosa. Currently, I have medical students pretty much every day in my office for the medical school that's across the street from here. But the primary reason that I'm here is quite selfish, and that's because of my son. His name is Simon Joseph Finney, and he's right there with my wife, Chrissy. Simon is a beautiful baby that's about 11 months old now, and unfortunately if Planned Parenthood had its choice, he probably would not be here today. See, his birth mom is an unfortunate young lady that was homeless and suffers with many issues, including heroin addiction. Homeless people with mental issues are not supposed to have children, and if Planned Parenthood was not so greedy and preferred cash, he may not have been here today. Those who live on the street have trouble raising the money and the cash that Planned Parenthood likes to receive for their abortions. There's, in fact, that cash that they charge covers many doses of heroin and other illegal substances used by people on the streets. It's already law, and it's actually the goal of many to make it easy for these moms to get abortions. That's why I'm here. I want to make it really hard to kill babies. Some would agree that Simon's of his case would say that he's just a special circumstance, but I feel the majority of abortions are needed because we don't want to ruin a young girl's life, is the argument of many. My response is that the killing of an innocent baby is never the solution. It may appear to solve a problem, but it does not offer the solution. A little thing about appearance and reality. The sun appears to rise in the east and set in the west, but the reality is the sun doesn't move around the earth spins on its axis. And the same thing with abortion. We get the impression, people say, well, that appears to be the solution. We take this life and that appears to solve the problem, but it does not solve anything. It's not the true solution. As a family doctor, my job is health and wellness. I spend all day pretty much educating people how to stay healthy and to live a long time. That's what I was doing this morning for the last 3 hours or so. Planned Parenthood, unfortunately, is all about lies, deception, and death. And the truth is I can't think of anything that Planned Parenthood does that promotes any wellness or health for anybody, especially the women. The abortions not only kill the babies, they're known to increase the mother's risk of breast cancer, not to mention the endless psychological and mental issues that are associated with abortion. They also dispense hormones as if they're candy to young girls, hormones which are classified by the World Health Organization as Class 1 carcinogens, just like arsenic. These are my thoughts, but if you go to silentnomoreawareness.org, you can read hundreds of testimonials of people that have been harmed by abortion. The stories are countless of the child abuse and rapes that Planned Parenthood helps to cover up. Unfortunately, young girls are repeatedly raped by a relative or a stepfather. They become pregnant. The rapist takes them to Planned Parenthood, where they are happy to provide their abortion. Planned Parenthood doesn't really care who the father is or how the child got pregnant. They just happy to get their cash and kill the child. So not only does Planned Parenthood hurt women, it enables an industry of pornography and child abuse and rape. Planned Parenthood is not a solution. In fact, it's probably a fuel for the problem that it supposedly solves. Planned Parenthood does not help solve any of these problems. It only adds to it. As Mother Teresa said when she was in the United States a few years back, any country that accepts abortion is the poorest of the poor. I don't want this abortion area in my neighborhood. I don't want it next to my medical school. I don't want it in my state or in my country. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to welcome Matt Eversmendis, PA, to come up and join us, part of the Catholic Physicians Guild of San Antonio as well. Thank you very much for being here.
So I want to thank everybody for being out here and for being out here gathered for this important occasion. I also want to share a little bit about why I'm here as well. Besides being a physician assistant involved in medicine, I'm also a young adult and youth minister at my church, and I think it's always important to stand strong in the community, not just inside the profession that we're in, but also as a part of the community that we represent, because we know it's not an issue that just affects one job, one profession, or one type of people, but it affects everybody in the community. So I think that together, it's important for us to unite our voices and to be able to stand with the cause and to put our morals and our values and our faith first, so that way people can know what we stand for, and it's to stand for those who are voiceless, stand for those who are the most vulnerable, and to be able to present something that's different, which is it's a good news. It's a certain sort of gospel, really, is what it is, that we're presenting to people and offering to people. And yes, there's many problems that people face. There's many issues that people face, but more than focusing on the problems, we need to focus on the solutions. And it's never a solution to harm an innocent child. And so that's pretty much what I wanted to come and say and to represent, and wanted to share with you guys. And I'd like to thank all of you for having me out here as well.
Thank you very much, Matt. Matt Arizmendez, thank you very much for being out here. Got your name right that time, I think. So thank you very much. We had one of our speakers show up that we were thought might not show up, so by the grace of God, Ken Lockey.
Right here.
Ken, come on, welcome. Ken is a PA as well with the Catholic Physicians Guild of San Antonio. Thank you.
Thank you all for having me up here this fine morning here. I've been working with Dr. Finney for the past 3 years here. I've been in the medical profession right here in San Antonio for over 25 years here. And I just want to tell you how privileged it is just to be here in San Antonio with such a fine medical center here, one of the best ones in the world here. And like I said, it breaks my heart to see a clinic when I move into our community here and open up an abortion clinic, because like most of us in the medical profession know that when you go into the medical profession, you take an oath that says thou shalt do no harm. And for the life of me, I cannot understand why a physician, a nurse, a person would want to go in here and open a clinic up to take life, because we're here to preserve life, to mend bodies, to heal people. And so for a doctor, a nurse, a medical professional to come into a clinic and want to open up a clinic like this and to take lives, I don't understand it. And as a Christian, as a physician here, physician assistant here, I just want to say that I am 100% standing in complete faith with the Catholic Church here, with the Christians that stand before me today, and the physicians that stand with me today here to keep this clinic out of our community, to keep it away from the medical school, keep it out of the medical facility in general. So I just want to thank you for your time to let me come up here and speak a few words here, and I'll just be glad to do anything we can to kind of keep it out of our community. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ken. Ken Lockey, PA, also with the Catholic Physicians Guild of San Antonio. We stand in solidarity with you as well, and with the Catholic Physicians Guild of San Antonio. And it doesn't make sense to you because it's illogical. And so that means you're rational, and that means that we're out here proclaiming common sense. It's common sense that if a woman conceives a child, it's common sense for her own health to let that child be born. It's best for her health, and it's best for that baby. Our last speaker from the Catholic Physicians Guild of San Antonio is Dr. Mark Pekka. Please come and welcome Dr. Mark Pekka with me as well. Catholic Physicians Guild of San Antonio. Thank you.
I'm Mark Pekka. I work just down the street here. I've been in practice for 15 years. And the idea of having an abortuary almost in the shadow of where I work, I find abhorrent, and I appreciate you guys being here. I'm reminded when St. Thomas More lived in the time of Henry VIII, and all of his fellow cardinals and bishops and colleagues were signing on to agree with that decision of Henry VIII. Someone had commented to him that, why are you in the minority here? Why are you so different from everyone else? But he insisted that he was in the majority. And when they questioned him as to how could this be, how could you be in the majority when you see so many people signing on to this statement for Henry VIII? He said, the majority that is on my side are those souls who are in heaven. And I think we can stand here in the same vein as St. Thomas More and say that we are in the majority, and although we can't always see those who are on our side, we know that they are present and that they have been around for a long time. One other person who has been around for a long time in our profession was Hippocrates. And he came up with an oath, and I will quote one line from that oath from over 3,000 years ago, which says, I will give no sort of medicine to any pregnant woman with a view to destroy the child. I took that oath when I graduated from the University of Tennessee. Other physicians have taken that oath. We stand by that oath. The Church has always proclaimed that life is to be protected from conception until natural death. As physicians, we will continue to stand for life. We will continue to oppose Planned Parenthood in every way that we can, and we appreciate your being here. Thank you.
What an excellent quote, and what an objective and a mission statement for all physicians. So thank you very much for sharing that. Dr. Clark Cardes, would you like to say a few words and join us? Also with the Catholic Physicians Guild of San Antonio. Welcome.
Thank you for allowing me to say a few words. I'm here because this is an issue of human rights, and it's not so much an issue of healthcare, but lack of healthcare, because the purpose of healthcare is to restore the body to its natural state when it is faced with a pathologic disease process. There could be nothing more natural than human life forming, being conceived, growing, and developing. So regardless of faith tradition or even lack of faith tradition, this is an issue that cuts down to simple human rights. This country has a terrible history of declaring certain human beings to not be human and to not have rights. However, we assert that all human beings, whether they be in the womb or not, have rights, and we're here to stand up for those. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very, very much, Dr. Clark Cardes. Might I mention he's an Aggie, class of 99. Woo! By the way, I'm a class of 92. Woo! Well, someone who knows Planned Parenthood well, who's seen the inside, who saw an actual abortion, surgical abortion, and a baby inside the womb of a mother through the ultrasound tried to evade that scalpel of that abortionist, who personally witnessed it, which ultimately led to her leaving Planned Parenthood and making Planned Parenthood in the rearview mirror an ex-employer and in the background and no longer there and supporting them. So thank you very much. Welcome with me, Miss Abby Johnson, the founder of And Then There Were None, and Then There Were None, a great resource and apostolate to help those who work for Planned Parenthood to know that there's help on the outside. There's resources, confidential resources, who will help them leave that employment, that place of blood money in itself, and find new place to work that's honorable and will provide them with a rewarding experience at work. Abby Johnson, thank you for being here.
All right, well, see San Antonio's finest here worrying about our parking. I am an Aggie, so howdy. Howdy. All right. It is so good to be here with all of you today, and it's good to be here to proclaim life, and to proclaim life over the city of San Antonio, and to proclaim that we will do whatever it takes to ensure that this facility will not open as an abortion clinic. And we are here to say that San Antonio women, Texas women deserve better than abortion. And, I came here because I believe in what you're doing. I believe that with the power of God and with the power of us, that we can make sure that these doors never open to the women of San Antonio. And it's going to take a lot of work, but I believe that people in San Antonio are ready for the work. And just the turnout here today shows that, but it's going to take more on our effort. It's going to take more boots on the ground, going door to door. I mean, do these people really want to have a late-term abortion facility right in their backyard? I mean, is that what you would want in your backyard? Is this place of evil? Is that what you want surrounding your community? Certainly not. And so, we need to let them know that this is happening right here in their neighborhood, and that they can become a part of this, that they can help us ensure that this facility never opens. the abortion clinic that I was affiliated with out of Houston, when they opened, they opened their large facility in Houston, and I remember going out there one time, and I was out there at night. And now you should know also that because of the efforts of people in Houston, Texas, it delayed the opening of that clinic by almost a year and cost them an additional $2 million to build the facility, because the contractors kept backing out because of their boycott lists and things like that. And so, what you're doing works. It does work. Also, the clinic in Louisiana, they're scheduled to have a big abortion clinic open in New Orleans, right smack dab in the middle of a very poor, impoverished minority community. And you'll be glad to know that they broke ground and then they stopped. And that facility, there is no timeline right now, even estimated timeline of when that facility is going to open, because if we show Planned Parenthood will not go where they are not wanted. And if we show them that they are not wanted here, if this community shows that they are not wanted here, if San Antonio says they are not wanted here, they won't come. And so that's really important for us to remember. But I remember one night I was by myself. Probably wasn't the safest thing to do. Don't try this at home. But I was out in Houston, and I was driving home, and I knew that I was going to be driving by this abortion clinic where I was scheduled to work, and but left. And so I pulled over and I stopped, and I got out of my car. Abortion clinics, they look different at night. I think the stark reality of what's taking place really comes forward at night, in darkness. And because during the day it just looks like a regular medical facility, no big deal, right? But I remember I was out there that night, and I was standing there praying and really just feeling overcome with sorrow about what I knew took place every day in that facility. And I remember looking up the third floor of that clinic. It's a 7-story facility. The third floor is designated as their abortion floor. And they take the lives of babies up to 20 weeks now in the state of Texas, and they are budgeted to perform at least 75 abortions 6 days a week. And I remember standing there, and I remember looking up, and they still had some lights on, because it never totally goes dark in there, and they had some lights on. I remember looking up at that third floor, and almost like it was like mocking me. I could see from this frosted glass, I could see this big red biohazard container in the window. And I thought, so you can't see that during the day. But when it's dark and it's just those dim lights on in the facility, you can see the reality of abortion right there. You can see that disposable life right there in that window. And guys, that's the reality of what we're fighting here today. That, abortion is wrong. We say abortion is wrong. We say abortion is evil. We say these things, but babies are dying every day. Babies are being dismembered in their mother's wombs every day. And we call that choice. The ironic thing is that when women walk into an abortion facility, their choice is taken away. Because abortion clinics are not about choice. They are not about options. I remember going through training, and we would always say that we provided options counseling, and so it came up during our training. We say we're providing options counseling, so when do we bring up adoption? When do we bring up parenting to these women? And I remember our trainer looking at us and saying, well, we don't want to bring up any other options because, my goodness, we don't want to confuse anyone. The idea that abortion is a free choice is a lie. because we know that women have abortions because they feel like they have no other choice. And so we're here today. We're here, we should be here every day in our prayers. We're here multiple times of the week, hopefully. We're here to stand against this evil. We're here to stand against the reality of what could possibly be taking place inside of that building. And it's not just the babies that we care about. As one of the physicians mentioned, we're here because we care about their mothers too, and we know that women deserve better than abortion. We know that women regret their abortion procedures. And we're here today to proclaim that this building will not open. And so I just kind of want to take some of your questions at this time and answer anything that you might want to know about the inner workings of Planned Parenthood, or anything really that you want to ask me.
Abby, how did you go about closing College Station?
Yeah, he asked, how did we go about closing the clinic in College Station? So yeah, my former abortion clinic where I worked is now closed. And that was primarily because of solid legislation in the state of Texas. One thing that we know is that if you remove Planned Parenthood's money, then you remove their power. And if you remove their money, they will eventually close. And the state of Texas has really been groundbreaking in our legislative efforts. We have thankfully been able to defund Planned Parenthood from the Texas Women's Health Program. And I don't know if all of you know that story, but when that bill actually went into effect, Governor Rick Perry received a message from Obama, and a very strongly worded message saying that if you take Planned Parenthood out of this funding program, out of this Medicaid program, then we're going to take away your Medicaid program. And Rick Perry said, bring it on. And so they did. They actually are, the federal government, because they care so much about women, they actually did take away our women's health program. But that's okay, because we have such an amazing state economy that our state was able to pick up the slack and take care of these women whenever they need help. So, but we did take away their money in that sense, and that took away about $17 million a year from Planned Parenthood facilities. We also had other bills in mind. I knew that if we could require that the abortionists actually be here to consult with the women that they're going to be performing the abortion on, that would be devastating for abortion clinics. Why? Because there are very few abortion facilities that actually have full-time abortionists there on staff. And they certainly don't have one abortionist there. It's multiple abortionists. It's people that, that need extra cash, or, people that already have private practices somewhere or work for a hospital somewhere, and they just come in once a day. They work about 5 to 6 hours, and they make $3,000 to $4,000. It's not a bad day's paycheck. And so we knew that if we required the physician to be there for a consultation with the woman at least 24 hours before the abortion appointment, that would be devastating to the abortion industry, because their doctors, well, number one, they're not getting paid for the consultation. And these doctors do this because they want the extra cash. And so we knew that if we could take away that financial incentive for the physicians, they wouldn't show up. And so we implemented that in the Texas legislature in 2011, and sure enough, we saw some abortion facilities close. Because of that, we saw many abortion facilities stop performing abortions and only provide other services because of that ultrasound law. And then we had several other victories in the legislature. Of course, the largest was defunding Planned Parenthood from our Medicaid program, our Women's Health Medicaid program. And then, of course, HB 2 passed. And so, you know, requiring physicians to actually follow the FDA regulations for RU46 abortion is very cumbersome, because that means that the doctor actually has to see the patient 4 times, but they only get paid 1 time. And so then doctors said, well, we don't want to do that anymore. So they stopped doing that. So now we see fewer and fewer medication abortion facilities popping up like they had hoped to. And so it's just, you know, these little steps at a time. I mean, gosh, we've gone from 44 abortion clinics just 2 years ago to now around 12. And so that is, I mean, that is huge victory for us. And I mean, as long as one abortion facility is still open in Texas, we will continue to fight. We will continue to fight this evil, but this is a huge victory for us.
Happy, there's lots of people that don't know your story. Would you tell about the day you witnessed the abortion?
Yep. So I had worked at Planned Parenthood for 8 years. I was an abortion clinic director there. I was asked to assist in an ultrasound-guided abortion. Abortions are a procedure that is done in a blind manner. So it would be like if you went to the dentist one day and you were going to have a root canal done or something, and your dentist rolls up on his stool and says, you know what, today I've decided I'm going to do your root canal blindfolded. Like, would anybody be okay with that? Would that be, anybody feel comfortable with that? Of course not, right? Of course not. But that's the way that abortions are performed every day in this country. It is by and large, according to Planned Parenthood standards and according to the National Abortion Federation standard, a blind surgical procedure. So they have a cannula, it's like a straw kind of thing, and that's attached to the suction machine, and they just blindly probe around in the woman's uterus until they think they have enough blood and tissue in a glass jar. And that glass jar is then taken into a lab called the POC lab. POC stands for Products of Conception, because you can't say baby inside of an abortion facility. And the POC technician is tasked to then dump everything out of that glass jar and reassemble the parts of the baby to make sure that everything is accounted for. And that's the way that abortion is done typically in the United States, about 3,400 times every day. And so that's the way that I knew it to be performed. But we had this private practice abortionist come in from Austin, and he was explaining to me that, you know, shockingly enough, it's actually safer if a physician can see what he's doing while he's performing surgery. And so anyway. And so he was explaining to me that at his own private practice facility, even though it's against Planned Parenthood protocol, even though it's against NAF protocol, that he actually does use an ultrasound during the actual abortion. And I was interested in this. I mean, this is something I'd never heard of before, something that, to my knowledge, had never happened at my own facility. And so during the day on September 26th, I was asked to go in and assist the physician. And when you use ultrasound guidance, you of course need an extra set of hands to hold the ultrasound probe in place. And I'm, you know, for the record, I'm not a doctor or a physician or that's the same thing. I'm not a doctor or a nurse or PA, or I don't have any kind of medical credentials like that. I'm not certified in ultrasonography. I'm a licensed therapist, so if you're having a bad day, we can talk about it. But as far as ultrasound technology, I don't have that credential. But they don't care. The abortion industry doesn't care, as long as the person is willing and has gone through a 1-hour in-house training program. They set you loose to perform invasive medical procedures on women. And I had gone through that training program, and so my job was to hold the ultrasound probe in place during the abortion procedure. And we did the measurement. We found out that the baby was 13 weeks along. And I stood there and watched as the abortion took place, and watched this tiny 13-week-old baby fight and struggle for his life during the abortion. And I knew then that I had been lied to by Planned Parenthood, and not only that, but that I had lied to thousands of women. When they had come to me and they had asked me about their baby, they would come in and they would ask, is my baby going to feel this? And I would lie, because I had been told by Planned Parenthood this scripted answer. I've been given this scripted answer that, no, the fetus has no sensory development or does not feel anything for 28 weeks. And I believed, I had to know, some piece of my brain had to know that it was a lie. But you see, you have to believe the lie if the truth is too inconvenient. And so we just believed the lie, and we just went along with it. And so I was shocked. I was horrified by what I saw. But I knew that day that something had to be done. And I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to leave the clinic. I made good money at Planned Parenthood. I liked the people I worked with. I had been there for a long time, but I knew ultimately that I had been complicit in the killing of thousands and thousands. I estimate probably about 20,000 children during my time with Planned Parenthood, and so I knew I had to leave. And I left, and I went to the pro-lifers who had been outside of my clinic and had always said, we'll be here to help you if you ever want to leave. And so I really put them to the test that day. And said, well, I'm here, so what are you going to do about it? And now I'm, this is what I do. I speak on these issues. I speak at different banquets. I speak at rallies, and I run this ministry for abortion clinic workers. Yep.
Transition from when they helped you on the sidewalk to how you're able to help people that work at abortuaries now, and how you can be a tool to sidewalk counselors across America, and then there were none.
Yeah, so my transition, it was a very public one, because Planned Parenthood was the one that actually sent out a press release stating that I had left the abortion industry, and that got the media interested and involved. And so, I started speaking out and started doing a lot of media and everything. And then I was approached a couple months after I left about doing a book. And I said, I'm never going to write a book, because I hate writing. And, and then about 8 months later, I had written a book. And we got that published. And really, the only reason I wrote it was because I thought, okay, if I worked in the abortion industry and somebody came out with this, this kind of expose type of book about the industry that I was working in, I would read it, right? I would read it as a critic, but I would read it. And so I thought, if I can just get one abortion clinic worker to read the book, find some truth in it, and then leave their job, then that'll be worth it, even though I hated writing the whole thing. So that's what we did. And just like a month after the book came out, I started receiving emails from clinic workers who had indeed read the book, had identified with the story, and who wanted to leave. And my husband and I just kind of individually helped them for about a year. And once we realized that we had reached 17 in that year. We'd had 17 workers come to us individually, and we had helped them. And so we thought, maybe we should actually do this as a ministry nationally. Maybe we should do this all over the place. And so we started the ministry. We got it started in June of 2012. And when we were setting up our budget, it's hard to budget when you don't have any money. But we were setting up our fake budget, and we were setting up, our everything, our strategic plan. We were kind of thinking, okay, like if we had a really a big number, like a real liberal number of, how many workers would come to us in a year? Like, what do we think that would be? And so our big grand number was 10. We thought if we had 10 workers come to us in a year, that would be just crazy successful. It would be amazing. Well, in the past 2.5 years, we've had 137 workers come to us. And those workers are leaving. Many of them are speaking out. Many of them are going back and then shutting down their former clinics where they worked. They are exposing what's going on. We've got, right now, we have six lawsuits open right now against Planned Parenthood and other, primarily, I think all Planned Parenthood, because these former workers came out with their testimony, and it's just been amazing. We're seeing these workers come to Christ. We're seeing them come to a place of complete healing, and it's just been incredible. And it was something we could have never expected, but that's just why we say God is funny. So yeah, it's been a good, very good 2.5 years with the ministry. Any other questions for me? Anything you want to ask? Yeah.
We've got this facility, and there will probably have to make considerable staffing changes and increases as they try to staff this larger facility. What kind of expense and what kind of staffing are they looking at if they were to open a place this size?
Okay, so the question is about, what type of expense and what type of staffing are they going to have to add to open an ASC? It will be considerable. There will be considerable staff additions. They will have to have more licensed professionals, because right now I can promise you there are very few actual licensed medical professionals inside of their current facility. But by expanding to this larger facility, they're going to have more, not necessarily more physicians, but they will have to have more nursing staff, which comes at a pretty good expense to them. They're going to have more people just to man the facility, which is going to be considerable expense. And honestly, I mean, if they can actually outfit this to be an ASC in $5 million, I will be shocked. It's going to cost a lot more than that for them to actually, because basically what they're having to do is they're having to take this facility and they're having to retrofit it to their needs. And that means basically gutting the whole inside of the facility. They're going to have to put in a very a hospital grade type of air filtration system and air conditioning system, which cost, I think over $100,000. These are very expensive things that have to be done in order for them to open. And so, we're just going to keep praying that they just keep meeting roadblock after roadblock, and that the expenses keep going up, and they just finally say, you know what, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. We're not wanted here. Look at all the people that come out to oppose us. Look at all the opposition we have. The community doesn't want us. That has to be our prayer. That, even all the work that they've put in it so far, which doesn't appear to be very much, but even all the work they've put into it so far will just be a complete waste for them, and that these doors will never open. All right, anything else? Yes. Yeah. Yeah, so our question is kind of what will the response be from Planned Parenthood toward this community? They will definitely try to market your community. They will try to come in as the good guys. You'll never see a Planned Parenthood ad that says, "We are so excited about all those abortions we performed last year," right? Like, they never come out and say that. They try to hide the abortion services, actually. I've gone into Planned Parenthood clinics. It's kind of a stupid move on my part, because usually they recognize me, but I've gone into Planned Parenthood clinics and tried to inquire about abortion services, and every time I've been able to go in and inquire, they don't ever have pamphlets out in the front about abortion. You actually have to ask for them behind the counter to the receptionist. If they're so proud of it and they think abortion's so great, why hide it, right? But even the marketing that they do to your community is going to be all about, we're providing this excellent health care, and we're providing STD screenings, and we're probably, I don't know what this neighborhood's like, but just kind of looking at it, it looks like a pretty nice neighborhood. And so they'll probably really try to promote their sex education program to the community members, to let them know that they're here to provide sex education in the schools. And Planned Parenthood's kind of, they also have this thing where it's fairly new. It was very new whenever I was leaving, but that they will actually provide these sex education classes inside of neighborhood homes and invite the neighbors to come over, and they'll do sex ed with the parents and the kids. You need to know that Planned Parenthood sex education program begins in kindergarten. Begins with 5-year-olds, and the whole point is to get in early so that they can develop a rapport with our kids from a very young age. And then, you know, one of the things that Planned Parenthood educators are taught is that they are to tell these young children, you know, when you start feeling these different feelings, don't go to your parents, because they're not going to understand, and they'll make you feel like, you know, they'll make you feel ashamed. You come to us, and you know you can trust us, because, you know, we've been there for you since you were 5 years old, right? So we're obviously trustworthy, and that's the goal, is to develop rapport. It's the same goal, you know, the same goal is to get them into the clinics for birth control services, for other health services, because they know that 54% of the time, you know, the women that come in to have abortions are using some form of contraception. And so they know that the human error rate is really high on these birth control methods. And so it's great if they can get them into the clinics, get them on a birth control that's essentially going to fail them, and then they already have a relationship with them. And so when they need, you know, assistance with that crisis pregnancy, they just go back to them and they have the solution. And so, you know, it's going to be very important, I think, that as a neighborhood that, you know, just the pro-lifers in the neighborhood are very vigilant about getting the information out. As far as hours, you know, ASCs are, I mean, I expect that they'll be pretty busy, especially in the beginning if they do open. And, you know, we know, I mean, there have been times, especially at the larger facilities like the one in Houston, you know, they're out there sometimes till 7, 8 o'clock in the evening performing abortions, particularly if there's a problem with an abortion and the woman has to stay late. You know, if you've got someone, we've had women in our clinic that were there for like 8 or 9 hours sometimes because we couldn't get them to stop bleeding, and my gosh, we're not going to call an ambulance and have an ambulance pull up in our driveway because that's really bad PR for Planned Parenthood. And so we're just going to keep trying to manage her symptoms there, you know, for 8 or 9 hours in the clinic. And so, I mean, you could be looking at very late hours here at this facility. But we're just going to pray that doesn't even happen, because we're just going to pray it doesn't even open in the first place. So, but yeah, I think it is going to take a lot of like footwork from people in this community to let people know, because they're going to be getting addresses, and they're going to be hitting up this neighborhood with postcards telling them about, you know, hey, we're the new guys in town and we're here to help you with healthcare and all this kind of stuff. So it's going to be really important for the people in the community to have a really, and that's something that maybe y'all can work on, is to have, you know, maybe just a flyer you just stick in people's mailboxes or stick it on their front door, you know, top 10 misconceptions about Planned Parenthood, you know, and just get that out there so that people know what Planned Parenthood is really about.
Abby, one last question.
Yes.
What can we as South Texas San Antonians, the number one thing we can do to stop this from opening?
Yeah, so one of the most important things you can do is to be very public about the groups that are working on this clinic. So, you know, whoever these contractors are, whoever these guys here that are working here today, I mean, obviously they're proud of it because they're wearing their shirt. They've got the thing on the side of their, you know, on the side of their truck. So the more that we can make that public, that these are the people that are working on this building, and it's not just any Planned Parenthood, right? This is a Planned Parenthood that's going to kill babies up until the 5th month of pregnancy, okay? And that's important. And we're not saying that one abortion is worse than another. Like an abortion from day 1 would be wrong, right? We're not saying that. But the community does see it differently. And so the community will see that, wow, like killing babies in the 5th month, I mean, that just seems so much more heinous to, just in public opinion. And so, you really want to put that out there and to not say things like 20 weeks, but to say 5 months, up until 5 months of pregnancy. That really resonates with people. We've learned that type of language is really important. And so I think, having a really active, really big, taking out an ad in the newspaper, having online ads saying these are the contractors that are working on a facility that will kill babies up to 5 months in pregnancy. That's huge. If you can get contractors to pull out, that's a big win. But also, I think, just like I said, like just having boots on the ground, just like pounding on doors, giving out flyers. This community, particularly in this, within like probably a 3-mile radius, like letting them know that this is coming to your community, and that we need you to help us stand against it. We need you to help get the boycott list out. We need you to, to help. Come out here and protest. We need you to come and seriously, we are praying, but y'all, we are protesting. We are protesting here, and so this isn't just a prayer vigil, right? We're praying that this never opens, but we're also protesting because what could potentially happen inside that building is something that we all should be protesting and saying that this is not right, this is not okay. And the more that Planned Parenthood sees a visible presence, like I think you guys are doing this once a week, right? But the more that they see a visible presence out here, the less likely it is that they will even want to open this facility. So, I encourage you, I know we're all busy and we have jobs and we have kids and we do things or whatever, but even if you just had, 2 or 3 people out here every day, Monday through Friday during the week with these, honk for life signs or, please pray, I don't know, even maybe some creative signage like, facility opening that will kill babies up to 5 months in pregnancy, like just some things like that to create community awareness. There's probably a lot of people driving by here that have absolutely no idea why we're all standing here today, right? And so the better signs that we have, the more educational signs that we have, we don't want it to look like Lollapalooza out here with 150 signs, but like, just like different signs educating the community and educating people going by, because one of the really important things is not just that we're praying for this facility never to open, but it's also community outreach. That's a really important part of this, and getting the community involved in this protest and in this prayer vigil and what you're doing. Yeah.
For those that have left the abortion industry, what kept them from leaving earlier? I realize it was related to money in many ways, but what is something else that has kept them?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So she asked, why is it that these abortion clinic workers that have come through our ministry, like why isn't it that they just can't leave? That's probably the most common question we get is like, why don't they just leave? If you don't like your job, you just get out, you just leave. It's no big deal. It's a little different in the abortion industry. Number one, I will say that the majority of people that have come to us have been single parents. We have several single parents of 5 or more children. We have one that's a single parent of 7. Her husband, she's young. Her husband unfortunately died of cancer at a very young age, left her widowed with 7 children. We have just really heartbreaking stories. I mean, nobody grows up wanting to work inside of an abortion clinic, right? But it's usually a series of circumstances that lead them inside of that clinic. And so the important thing is, figuring out how we can kind of solve those situations to get them out. And so I would say, definitely money is definitely probably the highest up on the list. It's hard to look for a job when you're working a full-time job. And so that's certainly up there. But I think another thing is fear. So I remember one time sitting in with my boss, and one of my coworkers came in, and she said, you know, I've always wanted to work in social work. That's what my degree is in. And so I'm thinking, you know, I've loved my job here, but I'm thinking, you know, I'm probably going to move on from here, and I'm going to try to start applying. So I just wanted to let you know, I didn't want there to be a surprise if you started getting calls like for reference checks and things like that. And I remember so clearly, I remember my boss, I was sitting in there, we were having a meeting. I remember my boss looking at her and saying, well, good luck getting another job now that you've worked inside of an abortion clinic. You're never going to get another job. You might as well stay here. This is the best it's going to get for you. Nobody's going to want to hire you after working here at Planned Parenthood, and we won't give you a good reference, because if you leave us, you're leaving us in a really bad position, and we will give you a bad reference. And we have heard that from dozens of workers who have been threatened by Planned Parenthood, who have been threatened by, you know, the clinics that they've worked for. I mean, people saying, if you leave here, we're going to give you a bad reference. And we're very fortunate. We actually have a woman who works as a professional recruiter, a professional headhunter, and so she's able to give these professional references for workers so that they don't actually have to call Planned Parenthood. She can act as their reference, and that's really been a godsend. But that is a huge fear for these workers, not being able to find another job, because there is actually a stigma of working inside the abortionists. I mean, by and large, the medical community is supportive of Planned Parenthood, but they don't want their employees because they know that their employees have been involved in fraud, they've been involved in abuse, medical malpractice, negligence, and so they're like, yeah, okay, we support abortion, but we support it from afar. Like, you guys take care of it. We don't want your people in our clinic because they're dirty and they're unethical, and things that they think are normal are actually illegal. And so so that is a real fear for those workers when they leave. But we've been really fortunate. God has really blessed us and blessed these workers. I mean, I don't think there's ever been a situation where we have not been able to help a clinic worker that's come to us find gainful employment. And actually, we had a really high level person at the affiliate level leave Planned Parenthood, and you know, this person was making really good money at Planned Parenthood, and we thought, you know, okay, and it was a man, and so we were kind of like, okay, he's got a family, you know, he's got kids, like, we can't just, you know, he's making all this money, we can't, I mean, we understand, like, as a man, right, that's his God-given desire to protect his family and to be a provider for his family. And so, and we were like, we can't give this guy a job that comes with like a 50% pay cut. Like, that wouldn't be very good for him. And but we were able to connect him with our professional recruiter that works with us, and she was able to get him a job that actually made $15,000 more than what he was making at Planned Parenthood. And so, you know, we just keep telling these people, listen, if you will trust us and if you will trust God, He will bless you in your efforts. If you turn your life to Him and if you choose Him over this occupation, over, you know, this paycheck, He will bless you. And that has really been what we have seen over and over again. Thank you guys so much for having me, and keep up the fight.
Thank you, Abby. Abby Johnson with And Then There Were None. Look it up on the website. And Then There Were None, ATTWN.org. I'd like to ask Mike Panupke to come up and give us a quick analogy that everybody listening across the airwaves, everybody that's here, to have an analogy to go home with in comparison to a tragic day and tragic events in the United States a little over a decade ago.
Thank you, Patrick. Thanks for everyone being here. It's not going to take too long. I think the point that I wanted to get across is some perspective here. If everyone recalls 9/11, most of us do, exactly where we were, what we were doing, who we were with, and it was a tragedy, no doubt. If you take all the human deaths from that event, 3,000, plus the 4,000 that followed that, in the Iraqi war and the Afghani war, about 4,000 there. So 3,000 on 9/11, 4,000 in the wars, both wars. And America did not have the heart to see the blood shed any further that we pulled out of those wars, because we couldn't take it. I'm here to tell you, last year, Abortions in Bexar County totaled 7,413 deaths from surgical abortions here in this county alone. And yet the whole nation couldn't handle 7,000 deaths over the last 10 plus years. And so when we think about abortion, that's what we need to be thinking about. It's being done at night, it's being done in secret, as Abby said, and we don't see this. And so I share that with you so that you can share it with other people that you know, that these are real human deaths, real human tragedy. And so that's a simple way of getting it across. And I thank you for being here today. Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you, Mike. I'd like to leave you with a couple thoughts as I ask Danny Petrie to come up and close us out in a prayer. That, as Abby Johnson stated, Planned Parenthood starts early. They start with 5-year-olds. We have a program in San Antonio called Pre-K for SA. There's an initiative to go Pre-K for USA. I would encourage you to look into it. There's no regulation by the Texas State Board of Education on Pre-K for SA and what they're teaching to these 4-year-olds. And Abby, if 6 hours work brings in a pretty good income of $3,000 to $4,000 for these abortionists, I would tell you and remind you, it's blood money. It's blood money. And I encourage you to go to bloodmoneysa.com or facebook.com/bloodmoneysa to keep posted with what we're doing here in San Antonio. To keep track of the contractors walking off the job. We've had 2 contractors work off the job. And Capadona Electric, we want to thank them. And also Ingram Ready Mixed Concrete, we want to thank them. And also there's an employee, through a personal conversation with Eli Danzy, who saw fit that he couldn't continue working here as well. So there are efforts being made here. We encourage you to come join Eli and all the others on the sidewalk. Come help convince these contractors, these people working with these contractors, that this is going to be a place of death, a place of blood money, and the money they're making is a place of blood money. Next, I'd like to encourage you all to join me on social media today to expand on what Abby called us today, a POC. Today, we're all POCs. Planned Parenthood calls the refuse of human remains of a human body POC because they can't say a product of conception. Every one of us should be encouraged by Abby's words to go on social media today and put hashtag POC, or spell it out, hashtag product of conception, say your name, say that you're pro-life. My name is Patrick Von Dolan. I'm a product of conception. I am pro-life. Let's start that challenge today. Join us across America. Let's make it go viral. Know that Planned Parenthood is deceiving every one of these people working behind us. They're deceiving contractors. And there's more information at bloodmoneysa.com and facebook.com/bloodmoneysa. Blood Money SA on Twitter and Facebook. Come join us. Danny Petrie, please join us and lead us in a prayer to close out this day.
Prayer to end abortion. Lord God, I thank you today for the gift of my life and for the lives of all my brothers and sisters. I know there is nothing that destroys more life than abortion and artificial birth control chemicals. Yet I rejoice that you have conquered death by the resurrection of your Son. I am ready to do my part in ending abortion. Today, I commit myself never to be silent, never to be passive, never to be forgetful of the unborn. I commit myself to be active in the pro-life movement and never to stop defending life until all my brothers and sisters are protected. And our nation once again becomes a nation with liberty and justice, not just for some, but for all. Through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Danny. One last housekeeping measure. Our next press conference will be January 8th, Thursday, January 8th, on the steps of the courthouse of Bexar County. Come join us January 8th at 12:15 p.m. for our next conference. And we wish you that you would have a great season of Advent in preparation for the birth of the Christ child, and a very Merry Christmas. Remember to go to social media today, whatever you're using, and hashtag POC, hashtag product of conception. Put your name there, put that you're pro-life. Let's start this and let's get people thinking about what they're doing. The last note, we are in need of $10,000. We have legal needs that are crucial today on a zoning issue, and the timing is critical. We need $5,000 for a retainer, for legal retainer, and then $5,000 to come after that. We need and then some miscellaneous expenses. And if we do the signs that Abby was suggesting, about 5 months. Let everybody know that this place will be killing babies at 5 months old. So if you would, and you can, if we just got 100 people that donated $100, we would be there. So if I could ask you, as you go through this season of Advent, the season of preparation for Christmas, that if you could consider and pray about how you can support us, especially with your prayers. Again, the next press conference is January 8th on the steps of the courthouse, Thursday, January 8th at 12:15 p.m. And coming up soon, the San Antonio Life Runners are having a run. You can go to liferunners.org, and get information about the life run that they're doing and the money they're raising for a mobile ultrasound machine and to help a Women's Haven. And then tomorrow, the San Antonio Family Association is having a marriage rally on at the corner of San Pedro and 410, the intersection close to North Star Mall. And as we are all out here trying to build a new culture of life, marriage, and family, I'd ask you to consider coming out and supporting marriage. So thank you very much for your time. That time is 5 o'clock. Thank you very much, Mike. Again, that time is 5 o'clock tomorrow evening at San Pedro and Loop 410, close to North Star Mall. You come support marriage. We'll build a new culture of marriage, life, marriage, and family together. So thank you very much for your time, and may God bless you as you go on your travels. Thank you.